So I would like to hear your association. Tell us the story of ISABS.
1966 और कितना साल हो गया आज से
51 years.
51 years.
मान लो करीब एक बल्क ऑफ 50 years तो राइट मोड में 60 ये जो 1966 से जो ये खींचा that's the thing. Now what do you want to hear?
So how did ISABS get formed? 66 तो था नहीं ISABS, 72 में आया.
See, 60s was the period of training, and then some of us thought that instead of going to NTL, we better have something here. And young men and women from here going to NTL, finding residence, facing their selection criterion and all that. Why go for all this moderation? We have our own material. And this issue of we, to tell you frankly, I was very much involved. I wanted that ये सब कुछ हो, यहाँ पर ही होगा. Then some likely Francis Minezis, Abad Ahmad, they were also involved. वो सब मिल के धरनी सिन्हा came. Dharani was in IIM Calcutta, Nitish De, Calcutta. There are a number of people. They responded to that. Nitish De, the giant of a man, he was in India aluminium था, Indal नहीं, Alcan. He was working in that. So Nitish Dev was a giant of a man also. He was interested. And of course Uday Parikh, he was a friend philosopher. Ultimately we thought that we would be forming an association known as ISABS. And then 71 we started ISABS. Right?
Yes.
And कितना साल हो गए?
45 years.
लोग भूल जाते हैं, भूल गए हैं. Why should they remember? So naturally they have forgotten. Association goes on, but the past, the beginning, आपका ये प्रयास बहुत laudable है from my point of view, that you wanted to capture some of the past. That's what I understand.
Yes.
That since it is dying and decaying, this effort may bring it to life. क्या कह रहे हो?
जी.
तो both of you are my thanks to you for taking this venture on your shoulder.
Thank you.
Gauri and you,
Kirot.
Kirot.
Ji.
Somnath, can you share with us some of your memories from the formation time? What all happened?
तो मारपीट का था.
वो भी तो हमारा हिस्ट्री है ना.
हाँ?
वो भी तो है हमारा हिस्ट्री.
वो भी सुनते हैं. मारपीट हुई पर बढ़ा भी तो आगे, तो कैसे बढ़ा?
ये वो लिखा गया है उसके बारे में. In my article, you will find some of these, the hassles. We thought that it would be a kind of soothing, solemn journey. But whenever these kinds of things, what I called as idealism का जो institution, उसमें there are problems. There are many problems. In my article, I have written about that quite clearly, that how this. You have the article, no?
Yes.
जी.
Yes.
So, I have written about some of these things, that Manohar Nadkarni took over in 1981 as the president. तब तो सब कुछ शांत हो गया. पर उससे पहले शुरुआत से 1981 तक there was the turmoil.
So what was the underlying cause for the turmoil?
Power.
Power?
No underlying is very open.
So it was a struggle for power that created the turmoil.
Yes, I would agree to that. Interpersonal relation on one side was deep, on the other side was deteriorating. Many of us could and could not tolerate with each other. And the most coveted thing was the ISABS का जो directorship. Who would be that? I think he is still there.
Yes.
Very much. The head of the organization.
We call him president now.
The head of the organization. But and seeing that, one thing that I did, that after I left my positions, I never looked back. I was not interested in the second term of anything. And there are many times offer, but I never followed because of this reason, that people want to retain and continue with these positions.
Ji.
Somnath, what would you say are your contributions to ISABS sustaining itself and growing the way we are today?
ये अपना मुंह से कुछ बोलना बहुत मुश्किल होता है.
प्लीज बोलिए ना. नहीं
नहीं,
तो हमें कैसे पता चलेगा?
पता चलेगा पढ़ने से.
So more than the information, I would want to know more about how you were feeling and आप जब कर रहे थे क्या आपको what facilitated that work, and those are things which I will not get in any writing.
You know CET Institute?
I've heard about it.
Small Industry Extension Training Institute. Uday was
Paul
there.
spoke about it.
Uday was there, Rolf was there, we were all there. In CET Institute, when they were not there, I conducted labs. ISABS was not yet there. And 15-day duration.
I see.
And
15-day labs.
Continuous 15
Continuous
days.
15 days.
Continuous 15 days.
बीच में Sunday half day,
Okay.
half day Sunday off for relaxing. And then during the day we left, and again Sunday evening we used to reassemble.
I see.
And the participants were very involved. उस्मानिया यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट्स थे, प्रोफेसर्स थे, IAS थे, different kinds of people who used to be the members of that, attend those programs, and that gave us a fillip कि यहाँ पर, बट ISABS में हमने उसको काटल करके 6 दिन का किया, पर इन दिस सॉइल 15 डेज भी हो सकता है. 15 डेज नहीं होने से वो जमता नहीं, एक वीक में कुछ होता नहीं, 2 वीक होने से, बट आजकल का ज़माने में it's very difficult to spare 2 weeks at one place. तो अभी तो आप नहीं सुनेंगे 15-day lab.
लोग छुट्टी लेके आने में तैयार नहीं है.
नहीं, छुट्टी मिलता नहीं,
मिलता भी नहीं है.
15 दिन कहाँ से मिलेंगे? We had one program when Dalusi from faculty from different institute came together, and we used to call that as interinstitutional faculty development. But that was not part of ISABS. It was a pre-ISABS arrangements that were going on nationally.
Okay.
छोड़िए उसको. ये अपना सवाल क्या था?
मैं पूछ रहा था आपका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे थे, आप लोग स्ट्रगल किए हैं काफ़ी ये इंस्टीट्यूट बनाने में, ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाने में, तो उस टाइम में आपका काफ़ी हर्डल्स आए होंगे, काफ़ी लोग फैसिलिटेट किए होंगे, तो वो सब बताइए हमको. क्या कल्चर था, क्या किस चीज़ आपको मदद किया ये सब करने में?
देखो, उस टाइम दीपंकर राय, कृपाल सिंह, ये सब एक ग्रुप, they were very much dedicated, and Deepankar's wife, who committed suicide later, they are so dedicated that ISABS का कुछ काम was kind of a mission. ISABS is not a secondary thing. That is the first. And that's how the value emerged. And we had the kind of takma band that we were also at the same time NTL members. We means Uday, myself, and not only NTL members, we had our internship with Bradford, Ken Benny, particularly I was with Ken Benny. Ken Benny, I invited Ken Benny here in Delhi, and he came and stayed with me. And then we went to South, एक nunnery में with 30 nuns. We used to have a lab for months, and in the background of church, Ken Benny was one of the dean faculty, and Uday, Somnath were the other faculty. We used to run, and they were, to them, to be in ISABS and doing these programs and being in the church, pray to the God, were more or less similar. And to have a lab on the corridor, on the outside hall of a nunnery of the church is something different. We had labs in the original days in the schools and in various religious institutions, particularly we had one sister, and she was a dedicated person. She was a lawyer, and she attended 2-3 times NTL labs. So she wanted a lab experience for their Indian sisters. And so dedicated she was. And she died working. While she was working, she was diagnosed as suffering from cancer. And she died while working. But these are the people who, to my mind, brought in values that were of different order. ये ISABS में, I remember in the early ISABS, there were Tagore songs, and it is acceptable by the members. So, the cultural aspect, the religious aspects, and these thoughts, they were of the same. I think I have digressed slightly.
हाँ, that's what we are here for. नहीं तो आर्टिकल पढ़ के बैठ जाते।
Ken Benny was also my mentor. So I was referring to Ken Benny, and he was there in Ithithanam, Kerala. He used to smoke heavily, and his whole shirt front is poke-marked by the burnt cigarettes. But he won't leave cigarette. But उस टाइम कैंसर का प्रचार इतना बड़ा नहीं था. But he didn't care.
अभी भी नहीं करते हैं लोग। प्रचार तो है अभी। अभी भी लोग केयर नहीं करते हैं।
थोड़ा कम हुआ.
तो हाँ, सॉरी,
बोलो.
मैं पूछ रहा था कि आप क्या आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे एज द वैल्यूज ऑफ विच हेल्प दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू बॉन्ड एंड वर्क टुवर्ड्स एन ऑब्जेक्टिव. What was the culture of this organization?
कल्चर बोल के तो कुछ क्रिस्टलाइज नहीं किया, बट कुछ रिपीटेटिव प्रोसेसेस दैट वाज मेनली बरादरी, फ्रेंडशिप, एंड apparently love. ISABSian को देखने से एक spontaneous sense of togetherness which is possible because of that love. Love was the main binder. That was a society unusual. We didn't find many societies where one can have inter-member love. तो ये जो लव जो था, वेदर वो जलेबी खाने के लिए या ड्राफ्ट करने के लिए, एक पैराग्राफ ड्राफ्ट करने के लिए, it was apparent in both. And whether you share a glass of beer or not, it was there. Mainly it is not characterized by jealousies. Jealousy is another sphere, but essentially interpersonal love was the value of the culture. Binding. जैसे देखो इतना दिन बाद शिरोडकर आप आ गए हैं, कौन एक कोने में सोमनाथ पड़ा हुआ है सोमनाथ से मिलने के लिए. गौरी मुझे देखा नहीं, एक बार मुलाकात हुआ था सर, तो भी what makes it is only possible for the ISABSian. They carry. और आपको देख के स्निग्धा को याद आया, which is because of ISABS. ये बहुत लोग बहुत ये करते हैं बट मेंबरशिप में वो चीज़ नहीं होता है. The ring, it does not ring well in other organizations. I will say that is the specialization of ISABS. When that is abused, then the thing goes awry.
It can destroy as well as bond.
Hmm?
Love can do both, bind as well as destroy.
বড় প্রেম শুধু কাছেই টানে না, দূরে উঠালে শরৎচন্দ্র. সরি.
No, I understand Bangla.
Love can bring closer, but it can also repel sometimes.
So was that also part of the reason why ISABS split?
Part of the reason
Why ISABS split?
at that time.
हाँ जी.
अभी तो अच्छा चल रहा है.
नहीं
अभी
अभी
तो
का
चल-
बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं,
हाँ.
उस टाइम का बात कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ. नहीं, उस टाइम I consider it essentially because of the power.
Only because of power.
Mainly because of power.
Okay.
And also who will remain in the position of the executive director. Uday, when Uday came in the 80s, he changed the constitution and changed the designation as president
जी.
rather than executive director.
Okay.
86 में हुआ ना.
हाँ?
86 में हुआ.
86.
हाँ. नया कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आया उस टाइम.
After Manohar Nadkarni.
हाँ.
नहीं, after one Somnath Chattopadhyay. मनोहर नादकर्णी के बाद सोमनाथ के बाद उदय. All we were in the 80s. As a matter of fact, I requested Manohar. मनोहर बताया था मैं ISABS के साथ क्या है. As a matter of fact, one day when he was out of power, he left and told me, I am not coming back to ISABS. So why? They have rather insulted me. I say, insulted you? How can you be insulted? हाँ भाई, इंसल्टेड होता है. Only one word. He felt very much troubled by. One ISABS member reacted off when he said, you deal with things that are artificial.
अच्छा.
मैं मनोहर से पूछा, तुमने ये बोला क्यों? बोला कि they will explore. We said that ISABS का यह है कि they will explore a thing, try to understand what the person is saying. I said, that which is not natural is artificial. तो हमारा सब कुछ तो नेचुरल तो कुछ है नहीं. तो इस मीनिंग से nobody wanted to क्या पगला ये कर रहे हो, पागलामी कर रहे हो? This is madness. You cannot be insulted. नहीं सोमनाथ, he was bag and baggage. He left.
I see.
So this patience to listen to another person and try to understand what is being said was missing. But we expected ISABS to have that kind of value where if you are saying that you want to learn from the things, then explore. I have given you 2 examples
Yes.
of where these explorations are. बहुत कुछ काम करना था, मगर टाइम नहीं है. Do you know he is from Orissa
Yes.
and you are from
Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Maharashtra. Maharashtra.
महाराष्ट्र कौन सा साइड में?
So I was born in Pune.
पुणे में.
Yeah. Now I stay in Mumbai.
नहीं, I was referring to Orissa.
Huh.
That was a center of learning at one time. And वो जो हिंदू वगैरह वगैरह, they were all Buddhists. The center of Buddhist learning. Yuan Sang went to Orissa, spent few years. ये जो क्या ललितादित्य,
Lalit Giri.
ललित गिरी,
Lalit Giri.
सब Buddhist monks used to be in the caves.
जी.
अभी भी है the caves. If you happen to visit, जैसे कना में है, वैसा ललित गिरी में भी है. Odisha is one of the old centers of learning.
Yes.
But how did they tolerate this? हर प्रकार का religion was tolerated. The amount of Buddhism that was tolerated in Orissa, wonderful, spectacular.
Coming back to our interview.
Uh,
Coming back to the interview, I want to ask a question.
I was referring to all these
Huh.
because of toleration of a value system is not a joke. It requires sustained a kind of devotion. हाँ बोलो तुम्हारा another question.
Yeah, my question was actually related to this values.
हाँ?
Values, what you're talking of.
हाँ.
My question is related to that. And I want to ask you, as a facilitator of tea groups, of process work, what were the values that you held?
Here and now बोलते हो ना, here and now का values क्या है? Have you explored, any of you, but or any other, that this here and now comes from Buddhism?
I see.
Buddhism.
I don't know.
Also the Gita, no?
Hmm?
Also the Gita, the Bhagavad गीता।
भगवद गीता में उतना नहीं,
अच्छा।
बुद्धिज्म में इट इज एक्सप्लिसिट। वो जो सर्वम क्षणिकं क्षणिकं, सब कुछ फॉर अ मोमेंट, क्षणिक, सर्वम क्षणिकं क्षणिकं, सर्वम दुःखं दुःखं, ये जो 4 प्रिंसिपल्स, ये बुद्धिज्म का। बट वी नेवर एक्सप्लोर व्हाट डिड दे मीन बाय सर्वम क्षणिकं क्षणिकं। हाँ बोलो। हाँ?
I'm listening.
नहीं, तुम्हारा सवाल, मैं तो उधर चला गया।
You were actually answering my question that what values did you hold as a facilitator of tea groups?
हाँ, हियर एंड नाउ।
Hmm.
वो हमारा ग्रुप में, एनी ग्रुप में, ये हियर एंड नाउ क्या हो रहा है, उसी में वैल्यूज आएगा। और स्टिक ऑन टू दैट, द वैल्यूज ऑफ द हियर एंड नाउ। इट्स a great value if we can properly. Here and now is not just for the sake of this room and the bound and the time. There is much more than that. ये मनुष्य जीवन, the human existence, human life, that is also here and now. And the value of the life lies in the here and now. जो काम करना है वो अभी करना है, बोरी पूरे पड़ेगा कब। जो काम जो करो सो अब करो। ये मौसम बीता जाए, वो गाना था ना, मौसम बीता जाए, a very famous song.
I'm trying to remember the words. Immediately याद नहीं आ रहा है। Immediately याद नहीं आ रहा है।
आपने ये छोड़ के, ये हिंदी, some of these Hindi movies used to have these kinds of rather quasi-philosophical songs. And Sachindev Burman was one of those.
जो भी है ये बस यही एक पल है। That also is another.
And शैलेंद्र and हमारा ये सब जो songs writer, famous. Anyway, coming back, that here and now has tremendous strength. Provided the facilitator invokes that. ये बोलो क्या बोला गया?
हियर एंड नाउ को लेके भी मेरे मन में एक सवाल है कि व्हाट रियली इज हियर एंड नाउ? व्हाट रियली इज हियर एंड नाउ? क्योंकि मैंने कितने सारे फैसिलिटेटर्स के साथ आई हैव बीन ट्रेन्ड. आई एम ऑल्सो वर्किंग विथ डिफरेंट फैसिलिटेटर्स और हर एक का अंडरस्टैंडिंग हियर एंड नाउ का कुछ अलग ही होता है. I don't know what it is. What would you say is here and now?
तो मैं क्या करूं भाई?
नहीं, आप कुछ नहीं करेंगे, पर आप
अपना अंडरस्टैंडिंग
हाँ, you
पूछ
share
रहे हैं।
your understanding of it.
My understanding of the here and now is something. Can you define that moment when at 4 o'clock, little earlier, about 2 o'clock, Jesus was put in the cross. The last nail was pegged, and after 2 hours, 4 o'clock, he died. This time, for the entire Christian world, what is the meaning of this? Those 2 hours? The value of the here and now is that. Or for that matter, the way the death comes and grips human. That moment is so spectacularly bright, sad. To me, here and now are those उदय से मैं एक बार पूछा था कि हियर एंड नाउ का वैल्यू is that all? Uday answered it, what else do you think? I said, if I make every here and now meaningful for me, and if I add value to a fragment of here and now, and then life is a summation of these moments, sigma m, and in my effort, can I make the moments as full of value, they are priceless, then life would be worth living. So they will, yes, I will agree on that. समझी?
कुछ धीरे धीरे आएगा समझ में.
हाँ?
धीरे धीरे समझ में आएगा.
हाँ. अच्छा.
No, I was only wondering, और कुछ आप ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में बोलना चाहते हैं या?
शिरोडकर दुख की बात यह है कि you see, the people who were running ISABS at that time were all by and large university directed.
जी.
कोई प्रोफेसर, कोई पढ़ाई करते थे. और आस्ते आस्ते एक टाइम देखा where these people vanished and the other people came. को बहुत कम लोगों का यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ कोई कनेक्शन है, इंस्टीट्यूट्स के साथ कोई कनेक्शन है,
बहुत कम है
बहुत कम।
सच में।
ये ISABS का एक लॉस। Most of the people are from the institutes of different kind, but not educational institutions. That is one lacuna that I find from the earlier ISABS to the present ISABS. And they were not hankering up to the position. The position came to them. Say, the last of that is Somnath Chattopadhyay. Is some such person, the white person. Because he comes from a very cultured family.
Yes.
But we could not retain Gauranga.
He is a free bird.
Eh?
He is a free bird. I would not never like to cage Gauranga.
You would never?
Like to cage Gauranga.
He is a free bird.
He is a free bird.
Why shouldn't? The issue is that people of ISABS should be free birds,
Absolutely.
and he was one such.
बहुत टाइम बिताया हूँ उनके साथ.
Hmm?
I have had the opportunity of spending lot of time with Gauranga
अच्छा,
in different situations.
a big group, small group.
Big group. I have been a participant in his lab. I have also sat with him in the evenings, sharing a drink and talking about the world. And I really love that person, Gauranga.
I am happy that Gauranga's name came in this dialogue.
You were talking about values and people in ISABS.
Gauranga is some such, but ISABS could not retain him.
You said about academicians not be coming into ISABS in as many numbers.
Similarly, इदानीं ये later generation में ऋषि,
Rusi.
psychologist, he died, no?
Rusi
Yes.
engineer. Rusi engineer.
Rusi-
Rusi engineer.
हाँ,
Mumbai.
Mumbai. He is a very educated person. Rusi attended one of my labs. I remember him from that, Agra. अच्छा, ये इशू तो गया कि that's fact that to me that such educated people have reduced in number. But the position gives a lot of power.
Sure.
But and then parallel organization NTL वगैरह वगैरह, ये सब में भी फिल्म मिलता है. ये एक्सप्लोरेटिव, जैसे नीना वर्मा, इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस,
Well, sir, there is a lot of thinking within ISABS even today.
Hmm.
Do we also look at people who come from the so-called masses, people who are perhaps not educated in the sense of having a university degree, but in their own right, they are very much educated, and they have the ability to be facilitative in the society. So काफी debate है, not that I am saying that I don't miss such people.
No, by educated I do not mean that they're conceptually, theoretically, sociologist or psychologist. Anil, they, not they.
Khandelwal.
Huh?
Khandelwal?
नहीं, अदर अनिल, वो जो मुंबई में थे, देन पुणे में है, सॉरी,
Arun Joshi.
अनिल,
Anil.
and he was not educated from this point of view.
Okay.
But I agree with you, because his experience of being with people, with the organization, and how one can do anything. ये जैसे प्रधान में देखता हूँ कि वहाँ पर it is not flourished with people like that. होता है still, but they covet that education. एक भू कहा जाता है. That bhuk is honorable hunger. इसको हुई पप करो.
That passion is something. The passion to learn, to understand another human being.
Right. ये हमारा बिहार का प्रोफेसर थे. Once he asked me 50-60 years ago, he was a faculty of one of these institutes here. He said, चलो हमारे साथ गांव to visit the village. So I went with him. He saw, and then we returned, and then he said, describe what you have seen. Describe a village visit. And I still remember the amount of depth of observation that he had of that village. सब जैसे उनके पास तो यही सिखाया जा सकता है. In 10 minutes time, can I describe a lab, what I have seen in the lab? एक surgeon, I requested him to observe a lab, and lab was a long duration lab, about 6 hours, and then there were, after the official lab period is over, we asked him, please describe what you have seen. And the way he described, I was amazed. The utter observation power. यही तो ISABS होता है. Without blaming anybody, without theoretization, the way the observation is tucked in and relevance of one with the other. अरे मैं बहुत दूर इधर उधर चला जा, बट हमारा लैब्स का ऑब्जर्वर्स, हाउ मच डू दे ऑब्जर्व, वो हमारा सेकेंड फेज थर्ड फेज में है ऑब्जर्वेशन.